No. Where does that come from? This I because I struggle with this with my own children growing up. This I don't care. Because we do care. Where does that mind come from your perspective?
Because there's a generational disconnect. Some parents are working 2 or 3 jobs to survive, and they haven't got that time, that quality time dedicated towards dedicating towards bringing up their children. They haven't got it. They simply cannot afford, literally cannot afford to not to have 2 or 3 jobs. So that quality time that you normally have to engage your young people, speak to them, is disappearing fast. Um, Also, going back to what Miss T was saying about her son's situation, is that your son's 14, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
So it highlights the fact that the work for these young people needs to be started at primary school. Not when they get to secondary school, whereby the kind of core mindset is starting to kind of formulate or forge. You need to get them early. And a lot of people don't get this. Early intervention is key. Because the attitude of quote unquote no snitching, where does that come from? Where did they learn that from? Because I always tell my young people, listen, forget about that no snitching, that's no snitching nonsense. If you are a civilian, and they use these terminologies, but if you are a straight goer, as it were, right? Your parents are working, you're not involved in no activities, you've got every right to say whatever you need to say and talk to the authorities. But when you get immersed into that criminal mindset of, no snitching, that's a separate issue. But where it is they're being bombarded with so much misinformation and conflation, they don't know what's what. So in that instance where they're seeing this young man going around stabbing people or bullying people, they feel that if they tell somebody, then they'll be labeled as a quote unquote a snitch or a grass. And nobody wants to be labeled as that. But they need to understand the differentiation. These are rules that are for criminals. These are rules for people that are actively involved in gangs. They're not for you, the straight goer that's just living their life. It's not for you. But they find it hard to separate the two things. So, I mean, yeah, it's difficult. But like I said, early intervention for me is key. Early intervention for me is key. There's a quotation that I love. I want to quote it word for word, by Frederick Douglass, and it says, "It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men, which lends to the whole thing of early intervention.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
everything starts off with how you think. Any action you take, it starts off with what's up here, which will determine the act. So once we can go into these primary schools and kind of engage our young people early, we've got a much better chance of better outcomes, at the other end. We're putting together loads of things this year from like the road shows in the schools about stop and search and knife crime. We're set up like a online portal that can be accessed anywhere in the UK. We're doing all this stuff, but at the core of it is that recognition that early intervention is key. And the intervention also in London has to be culturally competent. It has to be done by people from the community that understand the challenges we face and know how to engage our young people, are passionate about engaging our young people. Yeah, they've got a vested interest in that young person they're speaking to, rather than people being in these systems thinking, oh, it's just a job. I clock in at 9 and I clock out at 3:30. And that's me done. It's a little bit more than that. We need people that are passionate about our youth to have that, engagement with them. Like doing this work is not just a job. It's a lot more than that.
No. That's where part of the issue lies, because as Quincy will tell you, both of us we've been involved in the education system of our children, and unfortunately, it's lacking. There are a lot of teachers, okay, that are with your children longer than you're with them, and they don't like
100%.
them.
No,
They don't like them. They don't like teaching. So why are you in that profession? And that in itself is a stumbling block for them, because children are sensitive. They know when you don't like them. They know this. So from they know that this teacher doesn't like me, and obviously, yeah, I've heard big people discussing children in staff rooms, and I'm thinking, and not just, you know, newly qualified teachers. I'm talking about mature people that have been in the profession for many a years that you think are changing. It's not, it's all ego. It's all about them and their career and what they're achieving. They don't care about our children. So when we were talking about the police before, there's certain jobs we need to start screening people. They need to start having, you know, lie detector tests. We need to know, do you have mental health? You know, are you a psychopath? Why? Because they're hiding. And they're in these organizations and they are causing problems from early on. So, like what you're saying
They're coming with preconceived ideas of black people, and especially young black males. We know this. We know that that profession is populated by a certain demographic, you know, white, you know, people not necessarily even from the city. And they tend to be more females in that profession than anything else. So they're coming into so-called urban areas, preconceived ideas of young black people, and that impacts on how they engage young black people and how they teach them. You know, and this has been going on for decades. This is not a new phenomenon. This has been going on for decades.
So can I just say, so like, I'm hearing you, and we've had these conversations before, and it's something that's close to my heart. But we know we can hear all the problems. And I really appreciate, Ms. T, what you've explained to us in terms of the work that you've been trying to do behind the scenes. You're clearly on it. But my question is still this. We know what the problems are, yeah. What, for example, you've talked about, let's say, education. Ms. T, you spoke about teachers, yeah. What are the solutions? What kind of solutions are we looking for that could change it? Because to me, I look at this as a whole government issue. Yeah, like this isn't just little areas: education, health, housing. It's a big problem, and we're living in a country that's got massive issues as it is already. What can we do? Yeah, to help reduce the knife crime level, so mums like Miss T, yeah, do not have to go through such things. Now we've talked about, definitely about early intervention. That's obviously, but where we are now, what can we do? Tell me what.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, Quincy, go ahead.
I was just going to say, begin to that. I don't think it's what we can do. Like, we know the issues, and I think we tend to look at the government. A government is not going to. The government is there to enhance themselves and their peer group. And I think it's to answer that question, stop looking at the government to solve an issue in your house. Yeah, and this is why I would say that it has been organized for the longest while for families to break down. And that comes with organizations. So there were a time where our parents worked, but they came home at a decent time, and there was alternate time. So if my dad worked nights, my dad, before he goes, he would pick us up and prepare meals before my mum comes back. So there was like a conveyor belt. So now, as T knows, we've been in schools where it is the norm to have single parents. So we need to get off this. Stop trying to solve knife crime and try to sort out the family network. Why has the family network?
Absolutely.
So that comes with it. The knife and the crime comes with the breakdown of a family network.
Yes, and I agree.
100%. That's the reason why I've done a video recently. I already released about 2 or 3 days ago, where I speak to just that, what you just talked about, Quincy. I look at what can we do outside of the government, local government, or anything external people to do with our own issues. And I'll go through that one by one. And that's one of the points I made about the overrepresentation of single parents and absence of fathers within our communities. So definitely it's about what can we do that's within our power, rather than always looking externally to, signing petitions and marching and asking for somebody else to come in and solve our own problems.
Yeah.
But it does require a combination of both. It's not one-sided. Going back to something that Miss T said was very interesting. The children said that they gave her information because she was the only one that showed concern. This is why things like Street Fathers, which is run by Colin from Gangs Unite and stuff like this, is so important. Because the concept of Street Fathers doesn't necessarily require external funding. What it requires is people that are passionate about our young people, that want to dedicate their time, the little time they have, collectively to patrol the streets and be a point of contact for that young person on the street to approach him and say, look, big man, this is what's happening, this is what's going on. They would then be able to relay that information to organizations like ourselves, where we can provide that young person some help and assistance. Because assistance is there, but unfortunately, most people don't know where these organs are, where they are, what they do. They don't, for whatever reason. So they're like a conduit to say, okay, Nana Access UK, this is what he does, blah, 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 blah. We can refer that to that person. Black Thrive, they do mental health issues. Show Phoenix deals with school exclusions, whoever it may be in a community, which these young people haven't got a clue these organizations exist. So it's about plugging them into services that can help them. So when we talk about solutions, there's loads and loads of solutions. I started off with early intervention because I think that's the basis of everything else. But I could be here literally listing one by one what the solutions are. The reason why a lot of people tend to come with things like stop and search and ban knives and all that, because they don't really understand the complexities of the issue. This stuff we're talking about here, I live and breathe it every single day. Yeah, my life is all about how to empower Black people. Do you understand? So I'm invested in finding out these solutions. Whereas a normal, person that's just living their life, they don't know anything. They think, oh, let's stop and search, or let's throw them in jail. Let's put them in jail for 100 years. Let's throw away the key, and then that would miraculously solve the problem. When you've got people like Chris Dick, the former Met Commissioner, saying that you cannot police your way out of this problem. That's coming from the police themselves. They're saying you cannot police your way out of knife crime. So that's a recognition that this is a lot deeper than that. We need to look at the root causes more properly, instead of these headline grabbers like, banning zombie knives and putting people in jail for like 100 years, wherever it is that they want to, we have to look at the root.
Yeah. I'm going to read that. Got a message. There's a couple of messages from Pauline and Sky. Regardless of what, it starts with parents. We can't look at super repressors for help until we get active, like all of you on the panel, and doing nothing will change. And this is from Pauline. In terms of the education, we need our own places. Own places of learning,
absolutely,
etc. And the skills are there in the community. I just think that what we see it. There are loads of organisations which are doing things, and what Nana says, I think that young people feel that they don't know about it. That it isn't highlighted enough. So then to go to, and no one's saying that a young person has to get on with their parents or has to get on with their siblings, but there should be an option to say, look, right now I'm not really feeling my mum or dad, but I can go to Auntie T's and get something, or I can go to another area. And one of the things I really, really want to highlight as well. So all of us here have got children, cousins, and nephews, and we all know each other from different circumstances. But none of our children know each other. And there's that thing of like growing up, depending on your environment. It's like our Denise was DJing on Friday, and everybody on there guarantees a parent, and they all knew each other from DJing or the raving scene, and they've all got children, but none of them children know each other. So if my child, Nana, you're from Tottenham, right? You said you're Tottenham. No.
One second, I'm just unmuting myself. No, I'm not from Tottenham. No, I'm not from Tottenham. I'm from Northwest London, Kilburn. Oh, okay. That's where I'm originally from. But the reason why a lot of people think I'm from Tottenham because we started Access in Tottenham. in North London. So a lot of people think I'm from Tottenham. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a thing of like my children, because of we know each other a couple of years, but there's no reason why my children should, if they, like I've got my grandchildren from North West London. So if my son goes over to North West London and he meets some other boys, he's like, oh, your dad is so and so. That's a connection. Do you remember? And it sounds cliche, but there was a time that we went out of our area and we knew
we still have a community.
There was a community that said, oh, I know you through
100%.
I can remember being on the bus as a youth, right?
100%.
On the bus, right? But before I got home, the phone had already rung how many times to tell my mum, I saw your child on the bus or on the road doing what she wasn't supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got in, I'm like, how did you know that? So we need to get back onto that. So 100% agree with you. Our children need to know each other.
Mm-hmm. You know what, Quincy? I don't know if you watched that video or not, but that's one of the things I highlighted.
Oh, that's why I mentioned it.
Exactly what you just said, almost word for word. Yeah. Oh. Well, you know what? It's important. It's important because those were the days. I mean, I remember the time when we were coming up where we pride ourselves in knowing people from other areas. Do you know what I mean? Like that's part of our kind of come up where, okay, I know this guy from the, and you make that connection. Now you have a situation, for example, in Tottenham where somebody can't even walk sometimes across the road without getting into conflict. So imagine living on that kind of pressure cooker where that 5 minutes down the road, you could potentially get killed if you bump into somebody that don't like you. That never existed before. At Tottenham, for instance, you had Wood Green, you had the Tottenham boys, Edmonton boys, all together at one point in time. That was the collective. Now they're all in conflict, and it's like a stone's throw from each other. So imagine you're a young person living under that kind of pressure. We never had to experience that. I remember being stranded in Bow, on a bus. The police had come on a bus. They kicked us up. There was about maybe 8 of us. I don't know what we was doing in East London. Maybe go to a rave or do something. And they kicked us off, and we had to literally walk back from that part of London all the way back to Northwest. I can't remember even how we got back at early hours in the morning. But what I'm saying is that those things now are a myth for these young people. They don't know. Going to West End is like an excursion for them. Yeah. Because they're living under that constant fear. And if we can, again, going back to the early intervention, if we can kind of break this cycle, at early stage and build that solidarity, connect these young people up with organizations like I mentioned in my video, Manhood Academy, WYLA, NABAS, which is the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools. And these Saturday schools that are all about the culture, organizations like Origin, that focuses on the rites of passage, about that solidarity in the culture, you can then kind of start to break the cycle, because the cycle has to be broken. Unfortunately, there's going to be a number of people that they're too far gone to save, and that's it. So the earlier we start looking at doing these things, the better it will be.
So sorry, go on.
No, I've got 5 minutes left before we go on, Dee.
So what happens is when with this show, I want to say that whoever's listening, Nana T, that we try to bring people onto the platform that can assist us in some of the processes and things that we're talking about. So let's say, for example, last week we had a young lady who was a science teacher. Science teacher. What she's saying is there's not enough Black people and young people taking science as a serious subject. And she wants to offer support around that, so that we can get our young people really educated along those sorts of levels. The other problem I find we have is that we operate in silos. So what happens is this: there are great people who can have these conversations. We need a national think tank, because this isn't just happening in London. It's happening in Birmingham. It's happening in Nottingham. It's happening in Manchester. It's happening in Leeds. And what happens is there's somebody right now in Huddersfield who's got some great ideas, but doesn't know how to communicate or to share that information. So for me, we need a national think tank where those like-minded, strong-minded people can come together and help to think this through, because we're operating separately. We're operating silos. And it's not just London. Yeah, it's not just London. It's happening in other places. And if we don't do that, I can't see how we can join the dots.
I'll say this. Go on, T.
Just as you said that, there's an amazing organization called Umbele. They do training for us across the board. They take us away to different countries. They've already got something like that already, Denise. So please look into, if I can find the link, I'll send it to you. But please have a look. It's UMBELE. An amazing. I'm sure they're doing the think tank already. But just before we go quickly, Quint, I think that we're talking about children and their education, but we're at the point in time where we have to educate ourselves as parents and get skilled up. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to tackle a lot of these issues that come up. And there's so much expertise amongst us already. Like, I'm a parent, I'm willing to give my time. We've already got an organization, but I'm a drugs worker, I'm a youth community worker. I've got skills and I'm happy to give them to our community. So we need to find other people that are willing to do that also.
And I would say this before we go to a break off the FM, right, and we bring in our next guest just after 1:30. And I put it out there. So Father's Day, I'm organizing. I'm going to organize a comics and children. So every male comic who's a father, we will bring them. Bring them to the show, and we're going to be doing comedy, and we're going to be talking. So even as comics, we can say, right, this is so and so's son, or this is so and so's daughter. You know what I mean? So I think more of those events where Keith used to do it back in the day when the parents used to take the young children to the disco. Keith used to do it back in the day when Chimes or Dougie's was open. So from a comedic point of view, I'm going to be organising that for Father's Day throughout the day. So because there's no reason why we're all connected, and I think that as Nana mentioned earlier on, it does start from the home, and us as men, I would say that we need to step it up, and we need to set example. Look, ladies and gentlemen, please come across to the Quincy Presents channel. If you've got the link, we're going to continue the conversation. We've got some new guests coming up very, very soon in the show. T, I thank you for taking your time out. I know it's busy and stressful. Yeah, I'll be in touch. How's your boy getting on now?
Yeah, he's good. Stitches are out, but there's other bits and pieces I'd like to talk to you guys, because I really feel that we need to talk about organs, our children's organs, because these children that are being murdered, because parents are so distraught, they're not checking the children's bodies, and that is a major issue why this is also happening. So not nice to think about, but please, if you have a tragedy and your child is unfortunately unalive, please check autopsies and that everything's there. Seriously.
Yeah, you know what? It's amazing that we're having these conversations. Like we would never thought about. If it wasn't for the film Get Out, I wouldn't have thought about organs. But it's the reality.
It's the reality. Because
we're not even thinking about that. We just think we've lost a loved one. But this time, our loved one's body parts are being sold off.
Very, very valuable. And people are not aware. Like, I'm a doula, so I do childbirth as well. Most women do not understand how much their placenta is worth. That's like £40,000. And they're telling you that that's medical waste.
So what about when you give birth then? What about that?
The placenta, yeah, they like to whip that away from you. Quick. It's worth money. Also, Black women who are having hysterectomies, all those kinds of things, the stem cells, they want your uterus. Like, Black people have to understand how valuable your melanin isn't just in your skin, it's in all of your organs, your eyes, your lungs, your heart, your kidneys. These are worth so much money. If you Google Black men are turning up without these things. Yeah. You don't question
organ harvesting.
Yes. And we need to question when you're, another thing is when, like, my son being in hospital, they wanted to do things without my permission. If I wasn't there with him and if I wasn't on it, they would have been, that they were violating. So this, when I'm saying we have to educate parents, you know, ask for second opinions. Be assertive and say, no, what are you doing? I need to know, I need to understand, because otherwise they're wanting to give your children certain things that are dangerous. We need to have that conversation as well, please.
Yeah, let's leave it on there, because I think that's definitely another conversation. I was just talking about the young black boys, because I watched them young black boys play for Chelsea, and they was playing. How much does passion cost?
Don't cost nothing.
Yeah. Like,
Zero.
I saw them youths playing yesterday at Wembley. They're playing with no passion. I was like, why are them black kids with no passion, man? And then
Do you know why? Because they've got 8-year contracts that's paying them about 300 grand a week. That's why they've got no passion. There's no incentive for them to put in any work.
That's why I stopped watching Premiership football. Give me divisional football anytime. There you'll find passion.
All right.
Okay.
Take it easy, guys. Yeah. God bless. We'll be in touch.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, take care.
Thank you. Bye. A conversation that needs to be continued.
No, definitely. Just for the people who are watching right now, myself and Denise, because I don't think I'm going to find time to actually do it today, but we are going to do a show called Politics. Because this politics is a big subject matter, because it isn't just from a political aspect. The fact of organ harvesting is a conversation. It involves politics. You know what I mean? And we are seeing it from young children in that movie where they are harvesting young babies and all that kind of stuff. It's costing money.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Across South America, Middle Eastern America, and parts of Europe, this is a organization, and it's run by people that we could only describe are not very nice. So our children are looked upon, and organs-wise, as a financial asset.
Yeah.
So why we have to be so much on top of what T said, be on top of it. Yeah, definitely. Look, we're at a break right now. I just want to